You're watching News Now on TV360. I am Annetta Philip. Members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria have again clashed with officers of the Nigerian police force in Abuja. The shared members who are protesting the continued detention of their leader, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, have also injured a police superintendent. Zakzaky was expected at the Federal High Court today, but was not brought to the court. His supporters had gathered around the court in the Federal Secretariat area, marching round and chanting solidarity songs. The situation suddenly degenerated into a fracas between members of the IMN and the police. A police officer identified as SP Oga was hit by a bullet from an unknown shooter. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but was quickly referred to a tertiary health institution because of the severity of the case. The shooter is yet to be identified, but reports say the protesters were unarmed. They threw stones at policemen previously stationed in the area, and 2 police vehicles got destroyed in the process. They also temporarily took over the Federal Secretariat complex, which is a few meters from the National Assembly and the presidential villa. Calm has now been restored in the area after some police forces dispersed the protesters. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has ordered an investigation into an attack by unknown gunmen on an Air Force helipad in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. 1 airman was killed during the attack. An officer stationed at the guard post managed to repel the attack, preventing further casualties. Still on security matters, a coalition of civil society groups on Monday protested to the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, demanding that killer headsmen be proclaimed as a terrorist organization. The group stated it started its procession from the Unity Fountain in Abuja and marched to the office of the Attorney General to present a letter written to the Minister of Justice.
The protests, spearheaded by the Coalition in Defense of Nigerian Democracy and Constitution and our Mumudan Do movement, had initial altercations with the police at the Unity Fountain, where the protesters were meant to gather before the procession. After being denied access to gather at the Unity Fountain, the protesters marched to the office of the AGF to present their letter.
I'm extremely concerned that the survival of Nigeria is currently being threatened by the atrocities of killer herdsmen in the country. On a daily basis, innocent Nigerians are being slaughtered in different parts of the country. In 2018 alone, hundreds of innocent Nigerians have been cut down by this group, and hundreds of communities have been affected by its one-time destructions of human lives and properties. So much so that President Muhammadu Buhari, our president, had to publicly declare during his recent visit to United Kingdom and United States of America that Nigeria is under the invasion of killer herdsmen from Libya. It is, however, instructive to admit for effective actions and intervention that there cannot be infiltration into the country by external forces without internal collaborators.
The injustice that it is being done in some part of the country, the killings going all over in the country is our own major concern. And we want to put a stop to it.
Minister of Justice, commenced the process of designating killer headsmen as terrorists. You understand? Just like the same manner in which they did for the IPOB. Because the Ministry of Justice, is the only statutory organ of government that is empowered by law to do so.
The protesters say it is time for the federal government to take a decisive step on the killer herdsmen, as pronouncing it a terrorist group will help Nigeria get international and regional support to address the issue.
Any man that carries a gun, whether you're licensed or you're not licensed, and you enter a village, you enter people's house, you go to a farm, and you begin to kill and shoot, you are a terrorist. What are they supposed to be called? You go and name people that are fighting for peace, terrorists. At least you don't want to name them terrorists. Who are they? What are they? What should we call them? When you mutilate people's children and you destroy lives, you are a terrorist.
People from outside Nigeria, terrorists from outside outside Nigeria, and they cannot put a stop to it. People are invading our country, and they sit down there to talk, and they cannot protect us. Then why are they in government? if they can't protect us?
The letter was received on behalf of the AGF by a director who promised to deliver the letter to the appropriate office.
When I saw your group and I inquired to know what it was all about, thank God you've been able to make your presentation. And I promise you that I'm going to give it directly to the Attorney General through the Solicitor General of the Federation, who is my boss. You will hear from them in due course.
The coalition promised more protests in the coming days to ensure justice is done to the people affected by herdsmen brutality in the northeast and north-central Nigeria.
To politics now, a federal high court sitting in Abuja has dismissed 2 suits challenging a move by the All Progressives Congress APC to extend the tenure of John Odige Oyegu, its national chairman. The attempted tenure extension had also involved officials of the party at the national, state, local government and ward levels. At its sitting on Monday, Nnamdi Dinga, the presiding judge, said the case had become hypothetical since the party had backed down on the attempts to extend the officials' tenure. The judge held that the move would have been a violation of the 1999 Constitution and that of the party, but added that he had taken judicial notice of the fact that the party had begun the process of replacing its current executive through congresses which held across the country. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has dismissed suggestions of a crisis within the party. The APC's World Congresses in the past 2 weeks have been marred by violence. Fatalities were recorded in Oyo, Lagos and Gombe State during the APC Local Government Congress which held on Saturday. While in Rivers, suspected thugs vandalized the High Court, chasing away judges, litigants and lawyers. Despite these troubles, Osinbajo says he does not think there is a major problem in the party. He described the APC as strong and committed to offering hope to the electorate. Meanwhile, the opposition People's Democratic Party has been reacting to the crisis which trailed the APC World Congress. The opposition is accusing the ruling party being violence-prone and dragging the nation towards a state of anarchy. It said the party was doing this by engaging in actions that instigate bloody conflict and breakdown of law and order among Nigerians. The PDP expressed anger at the rate of violence which it claims had been the way of the APC since its emergence. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Jigawa State on an official 2-day visit. The president arrived at the Dutse International Airport on Monday morning and was received by the state governor, Muhammadu Badura Abubakar, his Kano State counterpart, Abdullahi Dagunje, and his 2 ministers. Buhari is expected to commission a number of projects as well as flag off others executed by the Badari administration. Among the projects to be commissioned are the Tashe Gua Guri Road, Abu Nabu Kadira Guri Road, while in Hadija Emirate, the president will also flag off Hadija Valley irrigation at the Auyo local government area. At Dutse, the state capital, the president will commission the Desina water scheme. Armed policemen have taken over the Kano State House of Assembly complex over alleged plans by some legislators to disrupt activities in the House. The deployment of the heavily armed security personnel has, however, been connected to alleged moves by some aggrieved members to impeach the Speaker, Yusuf Abdullahi Atta, and other principal officers. In his reaction, the Kano State House of Assembly said in a statement that the House had adjourned the plenary session from Monday, May 14 to June 30 after Eid-el-Fitr festivity. Meanwhile, the embattled Speaker has confirmed the plans by the House to impeach him, noting he has accepted his fate. He, however, denied allegations of incompetence levied against him by members of the House. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, has condemned the undue interference of politicians in the process of judges' appointment. According to the CJN, the current system of judges' appointments in the country is such that the governor of a state might not allow the names of persons nominated for judicial appointment to be sent to the National Judicial Council for scrutiny if the names of the governor's candidates are not included on the list. Justice Onnoghen also decried the falling standard at the bar, noting that there cannot be a strong bench without a strong bar, because judges are appointed from among lawyers. We'll take a break now, and we'll be right back with News Now. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Business News. I am Esther Vese. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) has announced the indefinite suspension of the Air Operator Certificate of First Nation Airways. In a statement signed by Sam Aduroboye, the General Manager of Public Relations of the NCAA, the regulator stated that the suspension was sequel to the flagrant and continuous violation of the terms and conditions of the issuance of its Air Operator Certificate by the carrier, thereby carrying out unauthorized and illegal operations. The operators of the airline are expected to return the certificate to the authority's Director of Operations and Training within 7 days. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, has been speaking on what the government is doing to improve the economy. Nigeria's current debt profile is 20% of the country's gross domestic product. Speaking recently, Adeosun said the government is not worried about the country's debt level, insisting that the federal government is cautious of Nigeria's borrowing plan. She dismissed fears raised by the World Bank predicting that growth in sub-Saharan African countries will slow in 2018. The minister reiterated government's plan to focus on infrastructure to ensure economic growth.
We are running a deficit budget. One, we had to run a deficit budget when we were in recession in order to pump money into the economy, but you're seeing the size of that deficit come down now. So at 21% or 20% of GDP, no, Nigeria is not among the countries that IMF is worried about. If you check what IMF said, they said they're worried about sub-Saharan Africa. Some countries are having debt to GDP of 60, 70%. Where we do have a challenge is debt service to revenue. That is because the interest cost is quite high, and that's a function of two things. One is the fact that most of the debt was short-term. So you're paying interest and compounding it. And what have we been doing to address that? We've been taking the curve out. Refinancing treasury bills and issuing bonds, refinancing treasury bills in the domestic market and replacing them with long-term debt in the international market. And that's reducing our cost of borrowing. So this time last year, Nigerian government was borrowing an average borrowing cost of about 18%. It's now 13%. So we're working very, very hard on the debt service cost. Then, of course, the other leg of the equation is revenue. Debt service is a percentage to revenue. So you reduce your debt service, then you increase your revenue. And that leads us to the work that we're doing around tax, around VADES, and all the stuff that we're talking about today. So that's our strategy. I'm not concerned about the levels. Where you should have been concerned was when debt doubled in a period when oil prices were very high and gross capital formation did not grow. Right now, even the borrowings are tied to capital projects. So you'll see a massive investment in infrastructure, and those are roads and rail that will be here for the next 30 years. So you're matching long-term assets and long-term liabilities. And the construct is that the economy will grow, will improve our tax collection and be able to service and repay the debt. So I think this is the right way to go. We don't have infrastructure, and we cannot afford to wait for oil price to go back, and it probably may never go back to 140 before we fix power, before we fix road, before we fix rail. Nigeria needs growth now. It needs jobs now. And the way you can accelerate job creation and growth in an economy is to provide the enabling infrastructure, improve the ease of doing business, encourage the private sector to thrive, increase your tax base so that you have more money in the public sector to then invest in education and health and create jobs in those sectors. And that in itself has a multiplier effect on growth. So no, there's no cause for alarm as far as Nigeria is concerned.
Oil prices steadied below 3.5-year highs on Monday, as resistance emerged in Europe and Asia to U.S. sanctions against major crude exporter Iran, while rising U.S. drilling pointed to higher North American production. Brent crude was up 20 cents at $77.32 a barrel, and U.S. light crude rose 10 cents at $70.80 a barrel. Now, both oil crude contracts hit their highest since November 2014 last week, closing at $78 and $71.89 a barrel respectively, as markets anticipated a sharp fall in Iranian crude supply once U.S. sanctions bite later this year. It is unclear how hard U.S. sanctions will hit Iran's oil industry. A lot will depend on how other major oil consumers respond to Washington's action against Iran, which will take effect in November. Following Friday's rebound from what seemed to have been a bear trend, the Nigerian stock closed another market day in the negative territory. Depreciating from 0.84%, the market capitalization closed at 14.734 trillion naira, and that's down 125 billion naira from Friday's 14.859 trillion naira. An analysis of the price movement table showed that Caverton Offshore Support Group led the gainers table, closing at 2 naira 74 kobo per share. Bitin Healthcare, Putix, and First City Monument Bank followed, closing at 5 naira 49 kobo, 3 naira 15 kobo, and 2 naira 63 kobo respectively. On the other hand, Nestle topped the losers chart, dropping 50 naira to close at 1,530 naira per share. Okumu Oil, Nigerian Breweries, and Dangote Cement also went down, closing at 85 naira 5 kobo, 122 naira, and 243 naira 5 kobo respectively. A breakdown of the activity chart indicated that UBA was the most traded, followed by First City Monument Bank, Sovereign Insurance, and First Bank of Nigeria Holding. In all, the volume of shares traded as investors bought and sold closed at 218.772 million shares, valued at 2.230 billion naira, achieved in 4,109 deals. Well, that's business news tonight. We will be back shortly. Stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Madam, madam, welcome. Okay, madam, no worry. When you deliver the balance, we will give you the goods.
No problem, no problem. All right, so now well done.
Thank you.
Hey, Oga, I still say she don't bring money. Maybe we use this one for him now.
She wants mahogany, not white wood.
Oga, our work now to join wood together, deliver whatever to customer, put the remaining profit for pocket.
This is corruption, not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
On the international scene, at least 43 Palestinians have been killed and 2,200 wounded by Israeli troops on the deadliest day of violence since the 2014 Gaza war. The violence came as the U.S. opened its embassy in Jerusalem, a move that has infuriated Palestinians. They see it as a clear U.S. backing for Israeli rule over the whole city, whose eastern part belong to Palestinians, or daily claim to. The U.S. President Donald Trump hailed the move in a video message and added that the U.S. remains committed to facilitating a lasting peace agreement. The World Health Organization has been given the go-ahead by officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo to import and use an experimental Ebola vaccine in the country. The vaccine developed by Merck in 2016 has been proven safe and effective in human trials, but it is still experimental as it does not yet have a license. The shot, which was tested in Guinea in 2015 at the end of a vast Ebola outbreak in West Africa, is designed for use in a so-called ring vaccination approach. Well, this would mean that when a new Ebola case is diagnosed, all people who might have been in recent contact with them are traced and vaccinated to try and prevent the disease's spread. The WHO said earlier on Monday that the Democratic Republic of Congo had reported 39 suspected, probable or confirmed cases of Ebola between April 4 and May 13, including 19 deaths. To news and sports now, Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr has unveiled his provisional 30-man squad ahead of the 2018 World Cup in Russia. The list, which includes regulars like Michael Obi, Victor Moses, and Odion Ighalo, has brought in a few surprises. While MPFL top scorer Junior Lokosa is the biggest surprise on the list. The Super Eagles will open their World Cup account against Croatia on June 16, Iceland on June 22nd, before taking on Argentina on June 26 for the final group game at the Krestovsky Stadium in St. Petersburg. Nigerians will surely be expecting big things from whoever makes the squad. A sport journalist and editor Kunle Sholaja has said team spirit and togetherness will take the Super Eagles far at the FIFA World Cup in Russia. An interview with our correspondent Sholaja also said the likes of Captain John Michaelobi and Victor Moses have what it takes to take Nigeria all the way to Mundial.
I have said it earlier that individually, each of our players may not be able to, we can't compare them with somebody like Lionel Messi or Ronaldo or Mohamed Salah or Sané. But collectively, and that was what really helped us in 1994, individually, if you look at our individual players, there's really none of them. Even Rashidi Yekini, that was top scorer then, it wasn't for his skill, but because of the support he got from the other players. If you look at most of the crosses that Rashidi Yekini converted, they were either from Olise or from Finidi George. So there is that understanding. Once that's understanding, then one player backing the other, they are not playing individually. So in this particular, what I expect Gilroy to be doing more is to have more on team spirit. With team spirit, with everybody backing one another, then they can still perform the kind of exploits of the 1994 and possibly even do better. The experience of Obi Mikel cannot be thrown away. The experience of Victor Moses in the attack, moving from, he knows how to transit from the defense into the midfield and into the attack. So, and if you look at most of the goals we scored during our qualifying series, it's either Victor Moses scoring them or he provided the assist. So he's one player that I see as the star player if he lives up to his form.
Roberto Mancini has agreed a 2-year deal in principle to become Italy head coach, reports say. In Italy, the former Manchester City manager was due to travel to Rome on Monday to meet up with the Italian FA to finalize his contract, having left Russian side Zenit St. Petersburg on Sunday. Mancini will take a big pay cut to secure the job, having already given up potential earnings of £13 million by agreeing a termination of his Zenit contract just 1 year into a 3-year deal. He's set to sign a deal with Italy until the end of the Euro 2020 that will see him get paid around £2 million a year. Rafael Nadal's surprise quarter-final exit at the Madrid Masters has seen the Spaniard replaced as world number 1 by Roger Federer in the latest ATP rankings published on Monday. Federer returns to the top spot despite not having played since March. Former World Cup number 1 Novak Djokovic slipped 6 places to 18th after his second-round defeat in Madrid, his lowest ranking since October 2006. The highest mover in the men's chart is Madrid semi-finalist Denis Shapovalov, with the Russian teenager jumping 14 rungs to a best-ever 29th. Thanks for watching News Now on TV360. Do watch our other programs on Facebook and YouTube, and follow us on all social media platforms at TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. Bye for now.